Greetings, weary traveler. Come, warm yourself by the fire, and let us regale you with mighty tales, tales of adventure, tales of heroine, and once again, Tales of Tamriel, hosted by me, because I'm not sure what's going on. I think Ark actually is dead this time. He had a good run. Apparently the jokes got to him far too much, and it's the end of the line. But on the flip side, as a result of that, he can't do anything to stop all our horrible propaganda against him. So we got that going for us, as we have nice, fresh, new tales of Waranir this week, which we haven't had in a while. So those will be good. Yeah, and Ark can listen to this and possibly edit it if he's not passed away. We're off to a good start. I'm Lotus of Doom, and with me this evening is possibly HyperPixie, or I could be alone myself in a minute if she hyperventilates as well. How are you, HyperPixie?
Just a Tales of Heroine.
Oh man, Tales of Heroine?
I'm doing
What are you gonna do?
I'm just dying a little bit because Tales of Heroine just had me rolling.
Hey, alright, look, I said I was gonna try to be PG, but apparently it's a drug episode, alright? Told you I couldn't get the intro, so that's everything. That's the whole deal. Yep. Drug references out the gate.
I'm sorry for ruining that right off the bat here.
Nope. Hey, this is how we start. This is how we start. See what happens when you sleep in, Ark, or die. Hopefully you're not actually dead, since we haven't heard from you.
Okay.
So yeah. Let's see. I've lost total track of my notes. Oh, there they are. I was like, and I deleted the notes, so that's going to go well to start with.
I'm trying to take deep breaths and calm down.
Yeah.
That was just hilarious.
So remember, kids, since this is a family-friendly show, don't do Tales of Heroine. That's bad for you. So.
I was like so ready to do the podcast, and then I heard Tales of Heroine. I was like, oh
no. And it's so hard too, because you don't want to stop, and I'm like, I just gotta keep going through that, and that's gonna be a tongue twister. So see if I can not do a drug reference on the way out.
Or maybe do it. Just bring it full circle.
Yeah, we'll just bring it full circle and pretend that I meant to do that, even though we have now made several references to not being intentional in the opening show notes.
Oh, man.
So this evening, we planned on having much more of a full cast. Promethean was kind of wrecked from being so busy and stuff like that, so he isn't able to make it. And then there's also Ark, as, again, we'll find out. I assume he's just tired, but he'll have lots of fun stuff to edit. Let's see if he can fix that so it doesn't sound like Tales of Heroine, but...
It'll just be Ark dubbing over it. Tales of Heroism.
And then Arkanir just chums in heroism. Like, oh, okay, that was very subtle. So, where are we actually at? That was a rough way to start things, I guess.
Know.
Yeah, so overall, there's has been a pretty easygoing week. Not a lot going on other than people on the PTS testing out the new things, which we will make one reference to that was brought up at ESO Live. But overall, this should be a shorter than 3-hour show than the usual, because it'll mostly be just tales and chatting and
heroin.
and drug references, unfortunately. So we got that going for us. But yeah, not a ton of news. There's no behind the scenes updates. I actually, since I wasn't planning on hosting tonight, I did not check our 5 stars and all that stuff. So if you did, leave us a 5-star review or anything like that with words that we can read so that it says your name. I will have to get you next time, because I was not prepared to host this up until about 25 minutes ago or so. No behind-the-scenes updates, except the possible passing of Arkanir. And yeah, I was going to say, we can actually pretty much straight out hit the news, because it's going to be pretty easy to do, as there's not a ton of it. I guess to start with, Pixie, did you happen to watch ESO Live?
I absolutely did, and it was super fun. So I really enjoyed. So they took us through the dungeons towards the end. So I know I'm skipping over a big chunk of it that we're going to talk about in a minute.
No, bounce around. I was at work, so I did not get to see it.
Okay.
So I'm actually getting a recap from you. The only thing that I can add to this is the block thing.
The block thing is the part that I didn't understand. So I'm glad you know
I will try to explain it.
So I'll start at the beginning then. So it started out with just a recap of Vegas. They showed a whole bunch of pictures, like the group picture of all of the podcasters. They showed the picture of Finn and I and Rich and I. Casual Rangers pictures were shown, and that was really, really cool. Like, made me feel like I was right back in Vegas. And if you guys want to go back and watch that, it's like around the 8-minute point. So like I know Lotus was there with me, so I'm sure he wants to see the pictures because I know I did. So that was a lot of fun. And then they went into the block changes, which they looked different, but I've only recently started tanking, so it was all kind of going whoosh right over my head. So I'll let Lotus take it from there, and then I can pick back up with the dungeon segment.
All right, so God, okay, there goes my voice. Anyways, so they are changing now. I'm not a coder, so I'm not going to try to explain like the fine art of how the coding to this works, but I will give you my interpretation after watching the video and how they explained everything, and at least the main point from my understanding, which is what they're going for. So what originally would happen when you block, which does not just apply to being a tank, it's anybody who's blocking, but when you block, that is done, from my understanding, on the client side of things. So it will show you the image of you blocking before the signal is sent to the mainframe or to the mega server that comes back and registers that you've blocked.
Oh.
So there's several things that this happens. It can happen with line of sighting from Cyrodiil. Sometimes, like, you'll look like you have the ability to get to somebody, but they'll actually be behind a object or something, so you can't fire your ability because it's out of sync with things. Stuff like that can happen. One of the most notorious examples of this that I can think of is everybody's favorite Scale Caller Peak. So when the acid or poison cloud comes across, and if you ever try doing the combat roll to get out of it, the animation will finish, but a lot of times you will die, and it'll seem like you're lagging. But kind of on that same idea is, it has shown you the image of you doing the dodge roll, but the dodge roll completion, so where you land, hasn't come back from the server yet. So your placement is where that is, or where you stood originally, which would theoretically be in the poison field. It happens so quick, that's why it kind of gives you the illusion that, hey, I rolled out of this, but I died anyways. It's because that ping time hasn't come back. You haven't finished your animation. The info hasn't been updated. So the same idea is supposed to happen with this blocking, is they're changing the way that it's being portrayed, so it's going to now be closer to my shield goes up for my block, and it now more accurately, because I mean we don't have quantum physics where everything's instant, but more closely resembles my block is up, the game registers your block is up. There's less of a delay between the two is the overall like bullet point idea of that's how it's supposed to change things. So long story short, blocking should be more efficient at looking like a real block.
And you putting that in terms of the final boss of Scale Caller Peak is probably the best explanation ever, because now I understand exactly what they're doing, because that gets me every single time, because the game loves to throw me in there. Whenever I queue for any kind of random, it just puts me in the hardest possible dungeon, and that's one of the hard ones that it likes to stick me on.
Oh yeah, and that is super unforgiving, because the window of opportunity is really, really, really slim.
Almost non-existent?
Yes, almost non-existent, hence why, as people had mentioned in chat, you run out of the thing because there's no animation to go through that needs to catch up.
Right.
So no animation needs to finish, you just put step in front of other step. So as long as your foot touches down, that's a more instant reaction
Right.
for the game to register. So that's my understanding of how they're switching things up. So hopefully, I mean, to be fair, I don't notice a huge issue with block delay, but I mean, it certainly can be a thing.
And so like I said, I don't tank that often. I'm a fairly new tank, so I haven't noticed the issue except in like scale caller with the roll dodge, which isn't what this is about. It's specifically for block. So
right.
Actually,
yeah, that's but it's same principle from my understanding. It's just, you know, that one's a little more on everybody as opposed to a block.
And now that I'm thinking about it more, there were a couple times the last time I tanked, I forget which dungeon I was even in, where I was yelling at myself and like, I swear I hit the block button and I have stamina, so I don't know what happened there. Why did I just get hit by that? So that must have been my issue. So I am looking forward to that.
It probably is. That's probably exactly what it is. So this should hopefully fix that. I've heard very good, I don't play on the PTS, but I've heard very good things coming from the PTS where people said performance does seem better. So if this is something they're working toward, ideally, it'll just be another reason that this new install thing is going to be worth it in the end.
Definitely. And then after the block changes, they went into, as non-spoilery as possible, an overview and a little tour of the new dungeons, which is, what was it? Ice Reach and Unhallowed Grave, if I'm remembering the names right. So the
Sounds right.
Not Hollow Fang, Harrowstorm dungeons. I just call everything Hollow Fang. I call Moongrave Fane Hollow Fang. That's at least where the gear set comes from. But apparently I just really enjoy that name, so that's what everything has been renamed to. So they started with Ice Reach first, and there's the Reach Witches look incredible. I really hope, I know like lately they've been releasing the dungeons and then later on they'll actually release the motifs that you can drop in that dungeon.
Yes.
And I am so pumped to be able to get the motifs from that dungeon. Like, Fashion Scrolls Online will be in full force whenever those motifs drop, because I need those for my warden. And I am not even going to attempt to pronounce that boss's name. But Mama C.
The one with the Slipknot helmet?
Yes. And which that's been a hilarious meme floating around the ESO Twitterverse.
Yep.
It's been great, guys.
Oh, yes.
So Mama C has like this really cool like wicker effigy helmet that just looks amazing. And normally I hide my helms on everything, but I want that so badly. And I know for completing one of them, I think it's Ice Reach, you actually get the weapon page for Lyris's battle axe, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, I heard about that. Yes.
Both dungeons had these really creepy runes all over the place. Like it looked almost as if they were drawn in either red paint or blood that the Reach Wishes left around, and it just looked super awesome. We got to see the little, not so little, I suppose, pets of the witches, so including the big giant. In Unhallowed Grave, we had a whole bunch of I cannot remember the crossbow thing, grapple points. And it was really, really cool. I really enjoyed watching that. He didn't go through any of the mechanics. I did have a tank reach out to me and said, I think I know one of the mechanics just from the little bit that we did see, but it shouldn't be. So if you are someone who, like me, wants to go in on Vet Blind release day to try to just figure out the mechanics for yourself, you should be good to go, because if you want to go back and watch that VOD, because they don't give away mechanics extremely blatantly. He has this go to sleep command that he uses all throughout the dungeon. It's really fun.
Which I heard was very funny. And in hindsight, I haven't had a chance to watch it, but that's actually why I didn't watch the VOD at first. I just found out that they didn't give a walkthrough of the dungeons themselves, because I like going in blind as well. And then I found out, oh yeah, no, they were really good about, not spoiling anything. They were just giving background. It was oh, I could have watched that then afterwards. Whoops.
Yeah, so, you should definitely, it should still be up on the Bethesda Twitch channel. You should definitely go back and watch it. It was really entertaining.
Yeah. Anything else of note about ESO Live?
It is hard for me to remember what they talked about. I think the very end was the dungeon walkthrough. It was pretty short. I think they kept it right at an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited for the new dungeons, though. They're going to be a blast.
I am too. Super, super ready. March 10th can't come fast enough. That one's giving me a bit of a twitch. Oh, I guess maybe that's something to bring up because I don't have an answer to that yet. I suppose I should probably directly ask rather than just follow people's speculations. So we discussed last week that there's less rewards, so people have time to reinstall, which totally seems to make sense to me. I get that. But then I want to say it was Benevolent Bodhi that made the reference point of console folks get this update in March.
Oh.
That's a different month.
They might do that again in March.
So are they going to do 2 shortened months? Which, if that's the case, having back-to-back shortened months seems a little peculiar. I mean, it's still free stuff. It's not like it's costing anybody anything. But it's just kind of weird. Why wouldn't they stagger it then? Although I suppose then people could have complained, PC could have complained oh, well, why does console get this extra week? And then they wouldn't know at first that, oh, well, then we don't get a week the following month or something. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what the following month is going to be. Do we have a missing week back to back? Especially because as a resident console chud on the PS4, despite my internet speeds, PlayStation specifically really doesn't like you just obliterating their network by downloading stuff super fast. So it will intentionally throttle you to a degree. It's not super aggressive, but I mean, it brings me down from oh, you're downloading this update at, 213 megs down to okay, I think 30 is enough for you. I'm all right, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Stop that. So on the flip side, if you don't have super good internet, then that seems, especially on console, you're probably going to be downloading that baby for a while. So
just to cut in really quick, to answer your question,
yeah.
Rock fan Chris is apparently listening a little bit better than I was because he said
that
Gina
so they
did
mention there are 2. Okay, perfect. Then there's our answer. Okay, so I guess we are doing 2 months of shortened. All right, fair enough. Again, that's fine. It's an interesting way of doing that, but whatever. Again, they're free logins. That not we're losing anything. But okay, fair enough. So then it's just back to back.
And at least nobody's getting shafted. So I'm really glad that that's coming to the console side as well. So that way you guys don't have to miss out on something cool. Because the pet they're giving away this time is really, really neat. So I am glad that they're giving us ample opportunity to get that pet since it is the last reward for the month.
Yes. And also brought up in chat by Rhino Games is the 16 gigs less space on PC seems to be, from everything I've heard, at least with the PTS, seems to be accurate size-wise. So if you do both, that'll be 32 gigs, because obviously you have both installed, both the PTS and the normal one. But 16 apiece, and then on console, we're the ones that are supposedly getting about a 30 gig decrease, which is lovely because I have a terabyte hard drive and 109 gigs of it are devoted literally just to the base of ESO. And I have another 13 gigs of screenshots and stupid movies and stuff like that from in-game clips. So that is an uncomfortable amount of my hard drive devoted to just ESO.
I totally understand that. I take an unusual amount of screenshots. Usually mid-dungeon. It's the best time to take them.
Oh, yeah, and it looks like full PTS was only about 65 gig download for them this time. Yeah,
that's
that's good to hear that's very good to hear that seems like that's going off without a hitch. I'll knock on wood just because they can't get anything to go their way when they do these performance increases the first time. They mean well, and then something else breaks because once it goes to live. But I'm glad to hear that this one seems like it's going well out the gate, at least.
Definitely. I'm really excited to see how much of the performance improves. And especially, I know I don't play on console anymore, but I really hope for a full report from you because about a couple months after I switched to PC, actually, I did go back onto PS4 to help out some friends in a few dungeons and to give them all of my stuff since I couldn't take it with me. And I was ridiculously frustrated by load times because I was so used to PC load times, which are much shorter. And I was like, oh my gosh, I played like this for so many years, and it was rough to go back to it. And so I want you guys to have the same kind of quality that we have over on PC. And I know that there's lots of hardware limitations, so I'm not expecting it to get to that point, but you guys definitely need an improvement over there. So I'm actually really excited for console players in particular with these updates.
Yes, there's definitely much more room for improvement over on the console side. We could have like a nice well, it doesn't even need to be a freakishly fast frame rate. If it could just be slightly more consistent, and just for the love of God, let it fix bar swapping.
Yes.
And that would be fine. Like, it's just, that can be soul crushing when you're like right at the cusp of beating something and it's like, all right, and then you switch bars and you use the wrong skill because you didn't actually switch bars. It's like, oh man, if they could not have that, that'd be clutch. I would be a huge fan.
Yeah, I don't miss that bug at all.
Can't imagine why.
Oh, it's great whenever your healer has that bug before they realize they need to slot a heal on the other bar too.
That or, I don't like people to use this as an excuse when you just botch it, because there have been plenty of times that I and my friends have done it, and you fess up for it and you accept it when you actually do it. But on Cloud Rest, the one where you have to switch bars because you have the electricity.
Yeah.
If you ever get stuck and can't switch bars and you're like, I'm sorry, I'm killing you all, I'm trying, and you just melt people. It's like, well, I did my best, but the game didn't want me to switch bars. Now, granted, don't use that as an excuse if you're just lazy and didn't switch bars and you killed everybody. Yeah. But it does legitimately occasionally happen, especially when you're vet plus anything and it's just a nightmare of everybody running around panicking, blowing each other up. So, but yeah, so I don't know. Very excited for the possible improvements on the horizon. So, especially because Dungeon Finder or Group Finder, because not just for dungeons, after the initial hiccup, has been vastly improved in my experience so far.
Definitely. I'm loving it these days. It's been really, really great. I did notice it was a little bit odd tonight, and I'm going to get into a lot of this stuff in detail later, because it was an experience earlier. And it didn't have too much to do with the Group Finder, but you'll see. So I did notice that I would queue for... so the easy pledges for today were Spindle Clutch 1 and City of Ash 1. And I queued for both of those, and I waited for a good 5 minutes. I'm a healer. I had 2 DPS with me, so I was like, we just need a tank. It should be fast. Would not put us in there for a while. I'm like, okay, I've waited 5.5 minutes. I should probably do something else. So then I would queue for Random Vet, and then it threw me straight into City of Ash. I was like, I was just queued for this dungeon. What? And
nice.
So then I did the same thing again. I queued for Spindle Clutch, would not put us in it. And then I stopped and then queued for Random Vet, and it put us into Spindle Clutch. I was like, well, this is an amazing turn of luck, but I don't understand why it just did that to me twice for whatever reason.
Yeah,
it didn't like
that's a little peculiar.
It was weird, but that's I don't even know if I would call it a problem with Group Finder. I think it was just having a little bit of a hiccup there. It was just very strange.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's been remarkably stable for me. No more of that I have to spam F because it keeps saying someone declined until you get lucky enough to actually be able to get into the dungeon.
Oh my god, that's awful. Yeah, that was awful. Especially when all 4 of you were in the group and it's like, someone declined. It's like, no, we didn't. We're all right here talking to each other. Don't lie to me.
Or you're me and you're like, all right, which one of you did it? Which one of you is the liar?
Immediately start blaming. Yeah, friendship's ruined.
Yes.
I know it was you. You just don't want to help me farm this gear. Yes. I just want 1 burning spell weave staff.
I heard you complain under your breath earlier.
All right. The only other thing of note that I figured I would bring up for news, this was actually, I believe, brought up a little before, but we didn't make specific reference to it, and I just thought it was a very cool. Yeah, it was done on the 30th of January, so it was the previous one. Um, the community spotlight, which this is something they do consistently. It's just for a portion of the community that I personally am not involved with, but I am friends with people who are. And it's just a portion of the community that I feel it's pretty cool that they gave them a specific nod to this. And it was the RP community, and it's a specific role playing in ESO community spotlight. And the reason so there's a decently long article. It's right on the main site. You can check it out in news. Ark will probably put a link directly to it if you're interested. But the staff actually talked to both Rykoff and T the Khajiit about their involvement with the RP community. So just like a shout out to the fact that they acknowledge all of their different communities, whether it's the endgame people, the dungeons people, the trials people, the streamers, us podcasters. I haven't seen as much in with the whole like nod to the role playing community, so it was kind of just nice to see that, especially because they retweet so much like really cool artwork that people in the community do. So it's a nice long article about the side of ESO and the RP community that I personally read through it. I mean, like I said, I consider myself friends with a lot of these people, but this is pretty foreign to me personally. So it's kind of neat to see an aspect of the game that I really don't know much about. So.
And I completely agree with you there. So I haven't actually RP'd in ESO, but back when I was younger, I actually helped run a Legend of Zelda RP website. This was all...
Really?
I really did. Yeah, that was actually... Working with that website is actually what inspired me to get into web development. So it kind of had an effect on my life. Now, I was just an admin over there. I didn't do any of the website work, but it made me want to learn how. And
Sure.
So even though I don't RP in ESO, like I might start eventually because I did really enjoy that. It was a really great creative outlet for me. About the closest I get to RPing in ESO is the exception of the character that we're looking at on stream right now. I try to come up with backstories, extensive backstories for each one of my characters. Otherwise, I just have a tendency to just delete them. So I try to have some reason to become attached to them by having some kind of RP backstory, and then whenever I'm questing with them, I try to put myself in the headspace of the character. This is actually something that Tales, I believe, tweeted out, the Tales Twitter, tweeted out this week, is when you are questing, do you answer quests as yourself, as your character, or do you just spam whatever button gets you through the quest fastest? And for me, I try to RP the character, but I also have a tendency to project myself in some form onto the character because I'm just not that great with character development. It's not my forte. So all of my characters have some elements of my personality in them, even my necromancer, as crazy as that might sound. So I didn't get a chance to read through this article earlier this week, but I'm totally going to before bed tonight because I am really interested in how active the roleplay community is in ESO. I know T is a fantastically sweet person. We actually got the pleasure of meeting her in Vegas. And
oh yeah, T's great.
I've communicated with Rykoff on Twitter and I think on Twitch too, yep. And they seem really, really nice. I really like them a lot too. So it's definitely piqued my interest. So maybe I'll get into that community a little bit here and there.
Well, it's funny you actually mentioned that. I suppose I could just bring up that poll because that totally wasn't me bored at work doing that. And I clearly remembered that I posted that. So anyways, yeah, in reference to that, I remember checking after a little bit, got a decent bit of response to it, so I'm glad the voting pool was like somewhat big. But yeah, when questing, how do you choose when confronted with a decision? And I left it open, not just Elder Scrolls Online, but like any game. I mean, lots of games do that. And it's kind of interesting to see because I personally don't RP, not for any particular reason, it's just not really my thing. So I just choose as selfishly as my character, I guess. And I'm like, oh, what is the most advantageous thing to me? Like, this will give me skill points. I want this, or this person's just annoying me, or I like this person, so I'll kill and or delete them from life. So, yeah, regardless of the situation, that's kind of how I like to throw it out. But so I was alongside with 35% of the voting population. 5% said they don't care, just give me the reward. So they're the X button smashers to just get through, which is fine. Who Quest was actually only 1%. I'm kind of impressed that so few people just don't bother to quest at all. So, I mean, they give you lots of rewards for it, so I get it. Bob brought up in chat that he's very aware of what I chose from the Mages Guild. Yes, that is correct. That was the reference I was making without actually just giving away, any spoilers for it. Yeah, I like skill points. If you haven't done the Mages Guild, you'll understand when you get there. And then 59% of the people who voted actually roleplay their choice to some degree, which that's pretty cool that much of the community is invested with their characters in a way that they, even if it's just headcanon, they write themselves like a story to it. So that's very cool that even in an MMO environment where, you're bumping into each other and everything like that, the people still have that like headcanon of their character's role in the world. I like that.
Yeah, I definitely have an appreciation for that, and at least on my main, I try to focus on what I think that character should do, personally. Now, on alts, I just button mash. It's always the first time I go through a quest that I really pay attention.
Right, and that makes sense. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I was going through the AD storyline, I mean, I don't like the AD, so my goal as my character was to kill as many of them as physically possible if the game would allow. And to be fair, I was impressed with some of the options. I forget what general they were like, oh yeah, we could probably save him. I'm like, yeah, no, I think he's lost. We better not bother. And they're like, well, we could really, like, the game really seemed mortified that I was just not going to go into the tomb of the Iliad ruin to, like, get him out. They're like, oh no, we have the cure. I'm like, that's a long walk. I think we should just leave him. No. Like, yeah, but it's not really, like, he's right down there. Like, what are you going to do? You better move on.
That's awful.
So, I wish there was a few more of those in there. I will... Look, I didn't... You know what? We're not going to get into spoilers. I won't explain what happened in the Raz incident, but it's not my fault. That's all I
have heard what he did in the Raz incident, and he made the bad choice, guys.
I was gonna say, let me put it this way: in the spoiler episode, Raz was, I like Raz, so I'll put it that way. And if you want all the details, you can. I don't even know what one to reference that episode on, but it was a few back. We had a big spoiler cast. But yeah, so I guess that pretty much covers our news bits. Yeah, do you want to just regale us with your tales to start with?
Okay, so the first part of the week was relatively mellow. I didn't do a whole lot of ESO or gaming in general because it's been a busy week IRL. But yesterday I thought that one of the only trials I've done in the game was Aetherian Archive on normal. Apparently, my brain has mixed up Aetherian Archive and Helras Citadel because I got invited to a Vet Helras Citadel hard mode. So I got super nervous. It's like, I haven't even done this one on normal. I get to the first mob pull. I'm like, I recognize this place. I think I know what happens next. I seem to remember a lot more fire, but apparently it was just me over-exaggerating the fire last time, or maybe I went the other way last time. I'm not entirely sure where my brain thought there was so much fire, but we got all the way through Now, the first time I ran this was back on Xbox, so we're talking about 3.5 years ago for me. Gosh, that was a long time ago. So, that was on normal. So I'd never done vet, definitely never done vet hard mode. So we get to the end, and we get vet hard mode done in one pull. I had the necro res going, so anytime more than one person would fall down, they would get right back up because I was able to build ultimate really, really fast because there were plenty of people to heal in there. It was super, super fun, went really smooth, awesome night with a really awesome group of people. And then we get to tonight, where nothing was as it seems. Everything was way harder than it needed to be, and it all started because I was too impatient to wait for a dungeon to pop because I did not want to sit in the queue for too long. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do random vet. I had a viewer from Twitch in there with me that I actually met last night, and so I'm like, okay, come on in, Bunny, we've got this. Oddly enough, I don't know how many of you actually have saw this, but last time I was in Lair of Marsalak, I brutally murdered a rabbit who was just defenselessly standing there. I accidentally blast bones them instead of pulling up my healer, and nobody has let me live that down since. So, ironically, I queue for random vet. It throws us into Vet Lair of Marsalak, which is the bane of my existence.
Sure, why not?
That is the dungeon that just 2 weeks ago, I died 107 times in. And so I turned to Bunny, which was really my microphone, and was like, so have you done this one on normal? No, I haven't. It's like, it's okay. As long as the other people have been in here before, I can walk you through the mechanics. We'll be fine. I say to myself, cheerfully optimistic. We get in there. The tank is CP301, so I'm like, okay, you have been able to queue for this dungeon on vet for 1 CP. So I'm going to assume that they hadn't done it. But the tank seemed to know exactly what was going on. So I'm like, oh my god, we've actually got this. The tank is doing really great. We'll be okay. We get to Celine. And that's when everything starts to fall apart. The other DPS says, just so you know, I also have not been in here before. I'm like, this is fantastic. And I was like, okay, I can give you guys a quick rundown of mechanics, because I have been in here. And
learning run. Yeah,
I was like, this will be fun. You know, I've done these before. It'll be okay. If we can just get past, the little bit of learning curve here, it'll be okay. Celine is pretty straightforward. So I told him, I have a ranged interrupt. But if we can interrupt Celine whenever she starts to do her poison phase, that's going to stop her from killing us. So I was hoping that since the other DPS was also a Magicka DPS that they might have Crushing Shock, but apparently they didn't. Because what happened was, instead of either letting me hit it, or something of that, or them doing Crushing Shock, they stayed on Celine the entire time, attacked her while her damage shield was up, and only shield bashed her while the other DPS did all of the work. And so we kept repeatedly wiping. I asked him, hey, can we focus the bear? Because the bear's the real target here. I've got the interrupts. Don't worry about it. They did it again. And so then I repeated it. Then they finally went to the bear. At this point, we wipe and the tank drops. And I was like, oh no. I pull in another tank that Bunny from Discord actually said they knew. And then they disconnect. But I thought they just... Oh. So what had happened was, they join us in the dungeon, and then I see in chat, wait, I thought you said Celine's web. And then Bunny's like, no, I said Lair of Marsalak, we're fighting Celine. Then I see disconnect. I'm like, oh god, they just noped out of the whole dungeon.
Yeah, I would immediately assume that person's like, yeah, alright, good luck, chumps. And
pretty much. So,
uninstalling game.
So then we kicked them from the group. I'm waiting for a replacement. Nobody on stream is volunteering for this mess that I'm in, and I do not blame them in the slightest. Why. Yeah. So then we leave the dungeon. Then the tank's like, oh, thanks for kicking me. It's like, oh, we didn't know you were coming back. We had no idea. But at this point, we brought in Avi. We're like, let's just do the easy ones. So then what happened with the oddness in the group finder occurred. So then so the next one goes fine. So, what was that? City of Ash 1 went completely fine. It was alright. Nothing really to report there. We had a little bit of a cranky tank, but it was fine. It's just impatient. So then we go into Spindle Clutch. Everything goes fine until the last boss. Tank says, I want to do hard mode. I'm like, it's Spindle Clutch. Of course we can do hard mode. It's fine. Tank dies. 1 hit. I look.
What?
I have 19k health as a healer with food. They have 16k health. I'm like, pardon me, do you have food?
Wait, what?
And so then I see their health jump up to 17k health. So just a 1k difference. And they're like, yes, I have food. And then we pull again. And they die in like 1 to 2 hits. I'm like, what gear are you wearing? Like, and so then Bunny's like, oh, okay, we need to trade this person some better food, because that was only a 1k difference. They don't have good tank food. So gives him the long fin pasty. He's like, I'm already running that food. I was like, I thought it was supposed to be more health than that. But I'm like, you know what? We'll just give him the benefit of a doubt. I was like, so that's whenever I asked him, so what gear sets are you running, and can we help you? Do you have attribute points and health? And then eventually, he wasn't saying anything for a while. And then he pops up, okay, listen. And I was like, oh God. And he goes, I'm not a real tank. And we're like, you don't say.
Really? I was just thinking you really like the ornate trait on all of your white gear. That's what I was thinking.
Pretty much. And so then we're like, I felt bad for this part. I was like, do you want me to switch to tank? And then the person said yes. And the other two, so Avi and Bunny's like, please just kick them, because I had other volunteers to come tank. I'm like, oh God. It was just bad. Because then I thought, if I switch to tank, who on earth is healing? Like, that's just not going to work. So we had to kick the person because they lied to us, ultimately.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and I frequently will not run proper roles in groups, but everyone needs to be in on it. You don't surprise the team with it.
Right.
Everyone needs to be like, that's fine, we're doing this without a healer. That's fine, we're doing it with 4 DPS, or whatever weird combo, we're only using tanks because we're idiots. Whatever the scenario, that's fine. But make sure everybody is, like, on board. That's a very unpleasant surprise, especially when you said he's the one, or she was the one to volunteer, like, hey, let's do hard mode?
Yes, they kept reading the scroll repeatedly. And
that's awful.
And so then I was like, I was thinking to myself the whole time, like, I have more health than this person. I could be the tank in here on my healer. I could just do both. And in the middle of one run, he died. My 2 DPS are still up. I'm like, you know what? I'm the tank now, everyone. And I started just trying to hold him as best I could. I didn't have a taunt, but he was looking at me anyway because I was throwing off heals. And we still died. But I feel like if I would have thrown on some heavy armor and slotted that one range taunt from the Undaunted skill line that's name is escaping me right now, I would have been a better tank at that point. Because I would have at least lived. Because I could have immediately healed myself whenever I got hit, instead of counting on me to see you get hit like that, because I was not expecting that in the slightest. So, I felt so bad. But at the same time, it was their own fault. And I was listening to the rest of the group, too, as a group lead. So I feel like I made an okay decision.
Ugh.
And so, at that point, Amish, who is still here in chat, volunteered as tribute. And so we're like, we can definitely do hard mode. Now we have an actual tank. Or even if it's not an actual tank, this person comes in, 39k health, and I'm like, here we go. This is a tank now. And from what Amish says, this has not happened to them in the last 2 years, but they DC'd their game crashed in the middle of the poll. And at this point, I'm just like, wow. What did I do to deserve this kind of luck? What is happening right now? To which chat responded, well, you shouldn't have killed the bunny. And I'm like, no.
Wow, it really does come full circle.
I can't do anything without it coming back to the bunny. I don't know what to do with my life now. I don't know how to pray to the bunny gods.
I mean, yeah, there's video evidence that you are clearly a monster and hate bunnies. So
it has been saved as a chat command of my channel by my mods who enjoy torturing me with this. If you do exclamation point bunny, you get a link to the video.
Excellent.
So it's eventually Amish was able to come back to us. We cleared it, no problem. And then I ran Lobby dungeons after that. We actually did it 3 DPS and a healer because we didn't have a tank who wanted to come who was a Lobby tank. And
sure.
So we knocked out Fungal Grotto and it was fun. I was leveling the Sork and because I do want to, I see people linking the bunny clip now.
Yep, there's the bunny link right now. Delightful.
So, which is titled "The Rabbit Was in the Wrong."
I noticed. I like the title.
Lego is a creative person.
Yeah, Lego. That is art.
So after that, it went really smooth, and then I find out Arcaneer has died. So I'm like, well, I don't know what's happening with Tales right now, but we're going to figure this out while we're live. So it was just like a whole mess.
Oh, so that's where I joined. I see.
Yes, that's where you came in. And that is my Tales. It was an interesting night.
I don't know if we ever had a Tales that kind of literally went right into the show itself. That's interesting.
It was perfect. It was golden. That was the perfect way to just cap it off. It's just been hilarious. It was bad luck in the funniest kind of way. It was incredible. And that's all for me because I don't have any more Tales of Woe to share, but you did give me a short teaser of yours.
Yeah, so mine are kind of all over the place. I have a few Tales of Woe. I have some positive tales. So Mid-Year Mayhem ended. I got booted out of the top 10 because I went to work, which was unfair. I demand a recount, but I really wanted to be in the top 10. Didn't happen. But that was a super fun event. Made a bunch of money. Well, made a bunch of AP, and I'm steadily selling off all my AP for money. My arena update, for those who are interested, is unfortunately much smaller this week because I can recap it in pretty much one sentence. I'm still stuck in Fang Lair.
Oh my god.
I don't know where to go.
Did you do vet hard mode? Is that the problem?
I assume the arena is the vet hard mode. And I've just chosen that dungeon of Fang Lair. So, yeah. I don't know where I'm going. I've just been roaming around. All the walls look the same. They're just a crappy off brown. I don't know what I'm looking for. The map's hard to read. I'll figure out what I'm doing. I had mentioned pre-recording while you were streaming that I might have finally figured out how to make this play nice with Streamlabs. Because my biggest holdup and why I've been doing the photo things on Twitter with the screenshots is because this game runs in DOSBox and it's thanks to the UESP, it's like a modified file that I can run just auto through DOSBox, and it keeps everything just kind of running as stable as possible because, surprise, I love Bethesda, as most of us do, but, well, this might come as a shock, the game's not super stable. So, yeah, if I try to move the screen, like if I play on anything other than full screen mode, if I play on full screen mode, if I try to look at anything else, it crashes. If I quick save too many times, it crashes. So I've got to pace how I play the game to make sure that it likes me. So trying to run Streamlabs and have it be on one screen while I manage Streamlabs on the other has not been an experience that it has any interest in dealing with. It is really not interested in that. But I think I found a different way to split it so that it's just capturing the window. And I just need to literally... So I can't use Streamlabs to read anything, but I think I can get it to run, and I can actually just check chat so I can talk to people on my cell phone. I'm not allowed to use my own computer to do anything. everything needs to maintain and be very still while I play the game. And that's how I'll do it. And most likely, when I'm done playing, it won't be all right, everybody, thanks, blah, blah, blah. It will be an error message in Arena font. And I'll just be like, I guess we're done, everybody. So that'll probably be how that works. But it might work. I think I might have it ironed out. So hopefully, for everybody who has been asking for it, I think I might be able to stream it. And then I can just clip the videos. Because, again, if you can't make it to the stream or whatever, I'm glad this is entertaining for everybody, because it is still kind of fun, even though it's ridiculous and the game likes to grief me. It's still kind of fun, so I'm all for playing these, and a lot of people have mentioned wanting to see it, so I would like to find a way that I can stream it and leave, the live time for everybody that's interested.
I will totally be interested in that. I have to see it.
It's also the frame rate, just a forewarning, a little rough on the eyes. I hope you don't like double digits when you're talking about frame rates.
Oh my god. What?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it's so unoptimized, but it is. It's better than when I first got it, where I actually was checking the frame rate on my computer, and it was 4.
4.
Which was real bad, because I was like, I would try to move, and it would just be like a picture book, like one of those flip books. But the problem was you dropped it in the bathtub and turned the tub on and then let the flip book dry, so some of the pages stuck together. That's what it looked like when you were trying to turn around. So it's not like that. It's just very choppy still.
That's amazing.
But yes, so that's the Arena update. So I guess, I could really do these in either order. Should I do my success, which is insulting to Arcaneer, or should I do my failure and then go into success?
Let's stick on the fail train and then finish strong.
All right. Okay. All right. So hear that, Arc? This is how it'll end with you. So you'll be here in spirit once again, buddy. So shout out to my buddy Mechafishy, who is one of our resident healers. And the other day, I jumped on when I was home from work and had dinner and stuff like that. We were just all chatting. And he's getting close to max CP and asked if I wanted to run a random dungeon, because I was just doing surveys. And I said, sure, I'll run a random dungeon. Why not? Especially because it's just on normal. So we have our healer, we have our tank. I'm like, okay, we need 2 DPS. That's straightforward. Like, the biggest backlog of players in a queue. Why not? So we did our random daily, and it pulled the Lair of Marsalok. I'm sorry, no. Depths of Malatar. There's too many M's. They're messing with my brain. Depths of Malatar, which is one of my favorite dungeons, although it is definitely not I wouldn't say it's an easy dungeon. It's still, I love that dungeon, specifically the end of it. But I'm like, okay, cool. Well, it's normal, so it's not that bad. But I was like, this isn't exactly like a we're done in 10 minutes dungeon. So, okay, fair enough. And we queue in, and I look at the 2 people. Originally, I was going to be overt and say their names, because when people don't do what they're supposed to do, kind of like in your story, I don't like that when you're screwing with me. So I was going to publicly mention their names instead of keep their anonymity. However, I'm not going to do that, because to their credit, they did work with us eventually.
Oh, God.
So one of them was CP, I think it was 286. Either 186 or 286. And I was like, how did he get in here? Me thinking we're on vet. I was like, oh, wait, no, we're on normal. Anybody can get in. That's fine. Okay, fair enough. And then the other person was CP 310 or 330 or something like that. So both of them were sub 400, which again, whatever. So we go into the, we run down the thing, and we get to the giant hunger. Mm-hmm. They will hide around, and we get started, and me and Mecca are just kind of chatting because we're doing it on normal, so we're not even really paying that much attention. And we noticed that as we were going through stuff, it's like, okay, the burn's really bad. That's fine. Because, like, the ads are, all the dudes are just chilling and fighting us for, like, okay, we've been in this fight against 5 ads for a minute and 45 seconds. Like, that's a little depressing. But sure, whatever. This is what we got. No big deal. We get to that dude, and there's just, this little acid puke spray. Just no cone in front of him. It's just everywhere. He's just spinning, and he's puking in a circle, and I'm like, what is happening? And I'm kind of like, oh, I guess the game's like freaking out. And, we do enough damage that he moves on, and there's just acid puddles everywhere. I was like, well, that was weird. So we continue on. We do the hunt phase. He finds me, whatever. We get back up, and we start doing it again. And I'm thinking, like, man, we are really killing this thing slowly. And then all of a sudden, he's just start puking everywhere, and he's just spinning around, throwing up everywhere again. I'm like, what is going on? At which point, Mecca's like, which one of you is you? I was like, what? He's like, why are there 2 people with sword and boards?
Oh, no.
And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, one of them is you, but you're both covered in that green puke, so I can't really see your model. Which one is which? And I was like, oh my god, one of the DPSs is a tank.
Oh, no.
Why would a DPS queue as a tank?
No, a tank queue is a DPS.
A tank queue as a DPS. Sorry, yes, that's what I mean. Why would you queue for a harder role? Everybody, this is the exact opposite of the problem you had, where it's like, I'm going to cheese the line and get to the front. This person's like, no, go ahead. Everyone cut me. I want to be at the back of the line. Like, why would you do that?
I have no idea.
It makes no sense. So we kill the dude because it's just that, it's normal, so we whittled him down. And I really mean whittle. That was a slow process where John went from being like, I guess healing's out. You survive yourself. No one cares about fake DPS guy, which is a first. Other guy's still kind of new. I guess I'll just try to jab with my Templar and help out. So we clear the thing. We get to that. And so we go into chat. They're not talking or whatever. So I'm like, okay. I was like, what is with the sword and board? I was like, you cannot pull aggro in this dungeon. Like, what are you doing? And he doesn't respond. And I'm like, I'm specifically referring to, and I said his name. I didn't write it down because I decided I'm going to leave these ambiguous. So I was like, specific. And the other guy responds, and he's like, I'm really sorry. I'm new. And I was like, you're not the problem. It's like, I'm looking at your weapons. You're fine. And he's like, yeah, but I don't do very much damage. I was like, again, you're not taking my aggro. I have no problem with you. We will slowly go through this dungeon and we will get your clear. Why is the other guy using a sword and shield? At which point he just slinks down one of the corridors. And I'm like, that's not giving me an answer, dude. Like, I want to see you try to solo this if you're not going to tell me. So he just continues to not say anything, and he pulls out another sword. So now he's at least dual wielding. And I'm like, all right, you're not going to respond, but at least you have 2 weapons. Fine, we'll work with that. At which point we decided to go through the rest of the dungeon. And I'm not sure what his build was exactly, because he had seemingly no monster set of any type that ever procced. The other guy was new, so I'm never going to complain about somebody being new and needing to learn something, or they're not great with their rotation or whatever. But this dude now has one move. That one where you poke, like, just no buffs, just pokes. Like, so I was like, okay, so he has one move. That's fine. So he went from puncture to pokes. So he does I think it's called flurry, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. He flurries, and that's all he's got. He's got one move, he's got the go-to, he's got flurry. So that dude's on flurry patrol. We got the other guy trying to figure out how to play, which, again, doesn't bother me. We have the healer who has just decided that nobody deserves healing anymore. And, oh, it's rapid strikes, okay. Yeah, and so Mecha has decided nobody needs healing because he knows I'll stay up on my own, and he's like, this isn't going anywhere. And I decide that in the middle of the dungeon, I need to put on my PvP gear because this is so slow. So I put on Villadreth instead of any type of tank set that I would use. And we, to their credit, to which one guy did say, thanks, thanks at the end. And I was like, that's fine. The other guy, who was our fake tank, never had a response to anything. He just kind of pretended like that didn't happen. But we got through the entire dungeon. I don't want to bring up the fact that I believe the final count was an hour and 58 minutes to whittle that down on a normal run.
Oh my gosh.
So that was just... It wasn't painful hard. It was just painful. And for the first time ever, somebody queued in a harder... I don't know if it was a moral thing where he wanted to make up for all the people cheesing the line in the other direction or what, but for whatever reason, a tank decided to queue as a DPS. So
maybe I have a theory. So
all right, I am very open to theories on this.
I have jokingly and also partially seriously said I would like to do a dungeon run where we're all on healers, just to do the world's slowest dungeon run. Maybe he did an all-tank or a multi-tank run on something and then just never switched his rollback.
Okay. Possibly.
Only thing I can think of.
That's very possible. Very possible. I mean, I think we've brought it up on the show before, but we did do one run. It was a stream joke where somebody, because occasionally I will, if we're doing stuff for charity, we will take donations to the charity and cause if we're doing requests. And I believe it was a request, that or we just have something wrong with us. We did 3 tanks at 1 DPS for a speed run, no death, hard mode of... What's the old ice dungeon where Drode is from?
Oh, that one is...
Dire Frost. Yes. So we did that on stream where it was 3 tanks and we just made one person. He had to do all the DPS and we just pulled the aggro from one side of the room to the other just so he couldn't get dots down too. And you're just like, why are you doing this to me? So
that's hilarious.
So I mean, we've done stuff like that. It's just I don't know. It was an experience to say the least. On that note, I had a couple good runs where we were working on Depths of Malatar hard mode, which that is a rough one.
Yes.
That is a fun hard mode. I like it a lot, but man, that colored rooms area on hard mode, whoo-wee, those orbs do not make that easy in that area, along with dodging walls and all that stuff. So we got some work in on that, which was pretty fun. And then I had several VDSA runs just because we've been running people through for their gear at the end. And the only reason I wanted to mention them, other than, BDS is fine or whatever, we got it to the group that I'm with, we've got it to about an hour consistently, which is nice. And so close, we almost got 40,000 points in our last run, which was really heartbreaking that we got 39,971 points. And I was like, well, that's a shame. Because we really wanted to break 40K in a run. Didn't happen.
So close.
Super let down. So we're going to do that again. Because but that's fun. VDSA is fun. Normal DSA is fun for anybody who doesn't run Dragonstar Arena or hasn't. It's a pretty fun place. And it's relatively long. So especially during double XP events, if you're ever trying to level and get CP but also get practice, run just normal Dragonstar Arena. It's not too aggressive on normal, and it is actually worth a surprising amount of experience points. So, and let's see. The final tale that I have is for Guaranir, because I hadn't done anything with him in a while. And on Thursday, got home from work with enough time that I could actually get into one of my Thursday trials groups. And I was like, oh my God, this like never happens. I'm always out way too late. And then, unfortunately, I noticed, oh, they've already got their tank roll filled, and that's all I play. But they were still a person down. And the raid lead sent me a message and was like, oh, do you play anything else? And I was like, not really. I mean, I physically have all the things, but I was like, I'm not good. And he was like, okay, well, do you want... We've got 11 people who are set. We're just doing normal runs. We're not doing any vet progression or anything like that, or just vet runs. He was like, would you like to just fill in at least? And I was like, sure, absolutely. What are we doing? So I joined them for a Sunspire run on Guaranir. I went in as the 12th DPS. And Guaranir successfully cleared Sunspire.
That's amazing.
Which I found out at a later date, Arcanir has not cleared Sunspire.
Which makes it
Guaranir has now surpassed the human being that he was based on in-game.
It's so perfect.
So after that, they had mentioned that they wanted to run the Mauve Lorcage, which I was like, well, I would like another Alkosh shield. So it doesn't matter what I run it on in there if I'm just gear farming, because there's no perfected version. And a couple people needed to leave. And I was like, you know what? I'll stick around. Sure. My DPS is fine. My DPS is not fine. It's mediocre at best. But whatever. We went in and we 11-manned the Mauve Lorcage with Guaranir as well.
Oh my gosh.
So Guaranir now has a sweet thing. Now, since I've beaten the Mauve Lorcage on my actual character, just to be a real piece of crap, I now am wearing the Vmol skin on Guaranir just because I know Arcanir doesn't have that either.
That's awesome.
Yep. So much success in the world of Guaranir as he's conquered 2 trials this week with great success. I did not get my shield, unfortunately, which kind of sucks because I would really like that. But yeah, Guaranir is back and he is in prime form of, I don't know, whatever the hell DPS I do, like 17k or whatever he bumbles around through, which is fine for normal. It's the best I got. But yeah, that would be it for me. Yeah, this ended up being, for a show about nothing, well, we were pretty accurate, about an hour and change. So, I guess before we end our most reasonably length episode we've had in a long time. Oh yeah, that's right. You know what? Let's actually just bring that up since we are still in that. Pixie, your hype train thing was a super note of Tales this week.
Yes.
Yes.
You actually came in just as my very first hype train got rolling. So after Amish came in and saved the day in the Spindle Clutch, which is an odd dungeon to get stuck in again, I found myself wondering, what am I actually doing with my life in ESO if I can't get through Spindle Clutch? So after Amish came through and saved the day, started gifting subs like crazy, and then there were bits flying and follow, so we way overshot the level 5 hype train, of which...
Yeah, that lasted, like, it prepped you for that for all of, like, 12 seconds, and it's like, well, congratulations, you did it. It's like... Thank you again so much, Amish, and so much to everybody else who helped make that possible. That was so much fun, and I had not seen that on my channel ever, so that was super exciting. I think I sat in Alinor as I just watched this thing happen because there was just so much going on, and there was this purple bar, and there was a percentage. It was like 180% through level 5 because level 5 is as high as it goes. And just thank you guys all so much for all of that. That was amazing. Yes, exactly. See, and that's why we got to go right off that into the show. So it was a nice successful evening here, especially like. Since this is much more impromptu than our original plan, but
welcome.
Let's say it. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Welcome to Tales of Heroine, everybody. We have hype trains.
Tales of Heroine when we have hype trains. Exactly.
That was the best tongue tie I've ever heard in my entire life.
I wonder if... Actually, it's pretty noticeable. He's probably going to know. I was like, I wonder if he'll notice. Yeah, he will.
But at first I thought you were saying...
Well, then we brought it up.
I thought you said Tales of Heroism until I looked at chat, like...
it's...
Heroine is in, like, female hero. But the chat was like, heroine?
Well, yeah, so either I'm a heroine or we're on heroin. Either way.
Well, my first thought was, wow, this is so gender inclusive. I feel included right now that I see Tales of Heroine in chat. Smelled like heroin, the drug. I was like, oh no, Lotus.
See, this is what I was trying to be. We're going to go with that. I was trying to be all inclusive, and everybody needs to make it about drugs.
One other person in chat, Avi, did say it's just a female hero. He was being inclusive, so I was not the only one. One other woman and I thought that you were being inclusive instead of talking about drugs.
Well, I like that. I'll go with that one. That sounds good. Any other final thoughts?
That was an amazing opening, and you should definitely sprinkle in little surprises like that more often.
Yeah. Surprises to not only the community, but myself.
I couldn't even stop you. I just couldn't stop laughing.
And on top of that, let me try to read an outro and not mess that up as well. Actually, no, I'm looking at it. I'm about to read it. And I just realized that we have a weird screw-up where the notes were expiring, so we had to clip the notes, but then I clipped the old notes that were not expiring. So the Patreon's back in there, which doesn't exist. You can't donate to it. Why is it in these notes?
I don't know.
All right. We're deleting this, doing the show on the show.
Because we are, in fact, Ron Burgundy here at Tales of Tamriel, and we'll read exactly what's written for us.
Perfect. Oop, nope, that's... Check out the P. That's not better. There we go.
Oh,
Delete that. Not better.
Careful checking out the P.
Yeah, well, I deleted all of the word Patreon except for the first letter. So, okay. I will read anything on the teleprompter. So anyways... Thank you all for joining us this evening. You can follow everything we do over at Dungeon Crawler. 5 seconds. 5 seconds in. Well, you can still follow everything we do over at DungeonCrawlerNetwork.com. There you can find links to all of our social media, including Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, which I actually I don't know if we maintain the Facebook. We should probably check that since Facebook is like a weird sub-entity. But either way, be sure to check out Dungeon Crawler Network. Why? This is the... Oh my god, this is the worst outro in history. Ark, we're rewriting this so that I can read this. Anyways,
do you need
on
help?
the note of... Yeah, SOS. Terrible. Anyways, we're Dungeon Crawler Network, and this is Tales of Tamriel. If we're not off the rails already, we sure are now. But if you find this disaster of a dumpster fire funny from time to time, as we're constantly lighting new things on fire, you could consider leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. That way people know that we're a real podcast. We do say real words, even if they don't matter, which seems to be how this outro is going. So thank you very much for joining us on this very bizarre episode of Tales of Tamriel, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks for stopping by, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Oh my god, that was amazing, Lotus. Nailed it.
Crushed it.
When Akatosh slew Lorcan, he ripped his heart right out. He hurled it across Tamriel, and the heart was heard to shout, red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. The laughing heart sprayed blood afar, a gout on sear it fell, and like a dart shot to its mark down in an alien well. Magic effused the Lorcan blood to crystal red and strong. Then wild elves cut and polished it down to chimel at a ball. Red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. When elves lost Nirn to men, Akatosh gave the stone to Saint Alesh in token of her right to sit the throne. Red diamond, the heart and soul of men. Red diamond, protect us till the end. Red diamond, protect us till the end.